somewhere, please. Right. Now, if I haven't lost track of things, we've got Miss Jakes here, and we're on item number 14, Taupo Event Centre After School and Holiday Program Review. Did you all get, was it handed out before I quickly skim read? There was 2 or 3 I have out here. Have you all received these today?
Yep.
I think I've brought your desk. Some suggestions pertaining to this item. So, Ms. Jakes, I'll hand over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is really a follow-on from an agenda item at the end of last year, and at that stage we weren't sure what the Oscar funding might not or might be, and so at that time thought it might be advisable just to wait and see what was going to happen. Still haven't heard in terms of the Oscar funding. We know it's going to continue, but we don't know what amount or what the ratios might be. However, the issue that we have now is that with that uncertainty, it certainly is starting to compromise our position in terms of the parents and caregivers using the particular after-school program and also our staffing. So the item today is to make a decision in terms of continuing or not with the after-school program and the holiday program, and with the suggestion that if you do continue with the after-school program, that we increase gradually the fee to make it at the same rate as other providers in the area.
Geez, a big laborious piece of paper about an after-school program. I really struggled all the way through this, and I just kept asking myself, is it core council business? Does it come under full well-being? I just really struggled with this one. Hell of a reading. Is there anybody want to ask any questions of Ms. Jakes, or an opinion, or clarification?
Yeah, or... Mr. Chairman, I suppose that's what I want to ask our CEO. Does it fall under our obligations under the local government reform that? But more so, I did ask that this be put off until we found out whether we got the Oscar funding, and we were kind of told that it could be by the end of March that we'd know. Yeah, so
is anything at all?
So should we defer this until we do hear? Or would it be an exercise in futility now that we've been handed this by central government of how to do our business? Should we, just for argument's sake, go through this and see what the end result is?
Well, sorry, just to carry on, Mr. Chairman, just that the 57, is that to break even, if it increases up to 57, does that include the Oscar funding?
Yes.
And then the 75 brings it up to the market rate.
Brings it up to the market rate and includes the Oscar funding.
So just reiterating what in cabbage twice, we haven't had yay or nay on the Oscar funding, have we?
No, we haven't.
And so should we defer this item to next month, because surely we'd have the answer by then, wouldn't we?
If we defer the item, then certainly in terms of staffing, we can't. It's very hard to recruit for short-term contracts, and that's the issue that we've got at the moment.
So when does the present Oscar funding run out?
In June.
In June.
So can we, if we didn't get that funding, what would happen in June?
You could still run the program. You wouldn't get Oscar funding, and you'd have to review the fees to make sure that it covered the costs. The indications from Oscar is that there will still be funding available. It's just how they're going to distribute it out to providers.
I'm sorry, Councillor Williams?
Yeah, I don't think that we as a council, even disregarding the local government reforms which endorse this, but I don't think we should be competing with local commercial business, and it's really not our core business. But I guess I'd just like to know where we stand with regards to the the staff that are there, and because I understood in the last presentation, the staff and the parents had been notified that there could possibly be a change. So will it be a big cost to council to, you know, will there be redundancy should we decide to terminate the service, or should we perhaps give them more notice? You know, what are our options?
The original option and the staff are on fixed term contracts now to the end of these first school holiday program. So that's up until the beginning of basically May. And with the view to giving a bit of breathing space so that council can decide that they want it to continue or not.
So we have to decide today whether or not to continue after May, or is that one of the options?
Just in terms of staffing and in terms of I suppose children coming onto or into the program, there's, because of the uncertainty, we've had a reduction in the number of children coming onto the program.
I start with Councillor Truman.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is it possible to tender the business, like to lease the business?
Well, anything like that's probably possible, but it's the funding of it at the moment that we have to address, isn't it? But I still say, Ms. Jackson, I'm just asking CEO here, we can't neither of us see an issue with deferring it to April. I'd really like to know if that OSCA funding was in place. Councillor Downer?
Not only that, Mr Chairman, I'd probably like a workshop on this, because this could have a flow-on effect with other things that we do, and just, you know, where we stand with our gyms, our old people housing and stuff like that. I mean, you know, I don't want to get rid of any of those, but this kind of feels, you know, where do you draw the line? And so I'd like a workshop on our services that we support and provide with.
Okay. Councillor Henderson?
Yeah, I agree. It's difficult to make decisions until all the information's before us, but I think it should be noted that this is exactly the type of thing, regardless of whether one supports it or not in principle, that under the changes that are being proposed through the Act will be potentially the sort of things we cannot participate in. And I think it's important that's noted, and the community knows and understands this, because this affects not just this activity, but a whole suite of activities, which we do.
Can I ask you a yes/no question, please? In all honesty, Ms. Jackson, your position in the council, would this proposal survive this?
I think one of the problems is that there is no definition around what a local service is, and is this a local service?
So all this local government act reform that's been forced upon us in the last couple of years, and the schoolboy piece of paper and schoolgirl piece of paper, my yes/no answer you couldn't give me a yes/no whether it would survive our new instruction manual. Is it good for households and business?
Again, it's that definition, and there's been no case law as yet in terms of a local service.
Well, hopefully we're not the first council to prove case law, because it'll cost us. So what do you want to do? Well, I've got a suggestion to defer this to April. Would you support that as a team? Until we find out about our OSCA funding, Councillor Williams?
But then that only gives a month for notice to the staff and the parents.
Well, is it the intention of you councillors here that if Ms Jakes were to come back at the April meeting and say, yes, you've got your OSCA funding, then we would continue? Is that where we're at?
Well, that's why I say I'd like a workshop in between now and the April meeting, another month, just to go over, you know, the local government reform on some of their services.
Does anybody support Councillor Downard's wish?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll defer this to April for two reasons. One, we'll workshop it. Shouldn't take more time.
Not only just this, I mean all our...
Well, your annual plan is in process at the moment. That could be fraught with danger.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
And this is
That would be fraught with danger.
So then, in that way, then all our that we do provide for, then we do comply to that then. Otherwise, we would have changed it in the annual plan.
and that's
Hang on, Councillor Johnson. Oh, sorry, Ms Jakes. Councillor Johnson.
If surely option 4.3, when you have the words ensure that it's break even, would satisfy that we're not using our money to subsidise other people. Surely that would be the benchmark, and going forward there's a potential profit.
But that's break even with the OSCA funding,
That's right.
which we don't know if we've got or not got.
But that was
So-
just helping the decision,
Yeah.
if we have workshop, that option 3 with the funding would satisfy the requirements there.
So that's,
Henderson?
I'm
sorry.
Just to answer that one quickly, I think not, because whether it breaks even or not is probably not the case. It's about whether we actually are allowed to participate in that particular activity. But the question I was going to ask is, as I understand it, is this not already in the long-term plan that we're continuing with this? And I think from memory, the discussion around local government reform was generally of the opinion, the legal voices I've heard, that if it's already in your plan, it's unlikely to be challenged going forward. Is that correct?
that's correct, and that's one of the points that I made here, that
Provided
it's
you've got-
provided.
Provided you've got the funding. If the funding falls over, it falls over.
Right, okay.
Councillor Williams and Councillor Hickley.
Yeah, but I'd like to ask Councillor Johnson if he's comfortable with funding a body, if it is set at a commercial rate, whether he's comfortable with the council being in business with competing with other local business in the same game.
With the supply and demand, if there's a demand for it and the others fully occupied.
So you're saying we should be in anything just to,
Well, this is an existing activity, I'm not saying.
Yeah, but I don't think that an existing activity justifies us spending the money just because it's in the annual plan. And I think that's where, if this council wants to be taken seriously and looking to adapt and look at the levels of service we're providing and what activities we're involved in with regard to the new Local Government Act, they really better start addressing these issues, not rather than just leaving them to the end of the long-term plan. I don't think that's very proactive. And I would also find it quite distasteful if the council was making decisions just because they didn't have the political appetite leading up to an election.
I think, yeah, and I take on board some of the things you say, like gyms and all these sort of things, but I think it's really sensible that Councillor Downard has asked for a workshop on it, and we defer it to April, because there is the issue of repeating myself of the funding. It's a totally different clean field if we haven't got that funding, which we will need to address now. I would just ask that you support that. We can't extrapolate Councillor Downard's workshop into all and sundry, because that's your LTP process. This is separate altogether. So one of the workshops we have in the next month, if we could allow an hour or something for this issue, then we will be fully armed and better to serve the district and our decision-making process at the April meeting. Councillor Downard.
Can I just make a comment back to Councillor Williams? I'm quite offended that you make a comment like that. At no time any issue that comes in front of me that I think of election or anything, I do it due process and with the information and make a decision. So I'm quite offended by that comment.
Well, I would just like to respond to that, Councillor Dunner, with regards to the proposal to put forward a Finance and Audit Committee, whereby Councillor Kirk said that there's only 6 months to go and let's leave it to the next triennium. And I think there's only a three-year triennium, and 6 months doesn't just get discounted. 6 months is quite a large hunk out of 3 years.
Okay, well, Councillor Kirk's not here to defend herself, so it's enough on that matter. Thank you very much, Councillor Hickley.
Yeah, well, I suppose I'm the oddball because I'd like to support this, at least for 12 months or for another term, probably with the effect of saying it perhaps doesn't or does fit in with the new Local Government Act. So at least we give notice, particularly to the families that use this facility. One of the letters does refer to the fact that she'll find it very difficult to find alternatives. It is a service. It's been running for a few years now, and I also support a workshop to try and find whether we should be continuing to support it. But I mean, providing we get the Oscar funding, what's wrong in running that for another period with the effect of proper notification to the groups?
I think the council is signalling, these council members here are signalling, and tell me if I've got it wrong, that provided we have a workshop and provided we get the Oscar funding, we will be looking very favourably at it at the April meeting. Is that we got a general consensus on that?
Well, I hope we have, Your Worship.
Well, I'm asking, and all the heads are going north-south, so, right, we'll have a workshop. I'll defer this to April, and we will have our Oscar funding in place there. We'll have a workshop to get our own heads a bit more around it, because quite honestly, these letters here this morning, while I've been chairing the meeting, I haven't even had a chance to read,
Well, I've only
because they
flicked
were
it.
handed out 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So that's fine, so that's what we're doing, so I hereby defer the item, and please, Ms. Jakes, organise the workshop to coincide with one of our other workshops, so we can do what we want to do there. So can we move